And I have given the example of defense. I won't come back to defense because it's a good example. Or where we are wasting money in Europe in a scandalous way. The Americans have naturally a budget that is bigger than the European budget, but the European budget, don't forget this, is nearly half of the American budget on military. So if you take the military budgets of the 28, you put them all together, then you come to 40–45% of the American military budget. And you can say that's not enough. No, but you have to know that is the second biggest budget worldwide. That's 3 times more than the military budget of the Russian Federation. But we are only capable, with this 40–45%, to do 10, maximum 15% of the operations of the American army. That's the reality today. So I'm a lawyer. I'm not. I didn't do mathematics, but nevertheless, I was Minister of Budget once in my life, but I'm always saying, to be Minister of Budget in your life, it's not necessary to know something about mathematics. The only thing what you need to know is the word no. That's all. All the rest is not necessary. But so I'm a lawyer, not a mathematician, but I know that if you spend 40–45% of the Americans and you can only do 10–15% of the operations, you're 3 times less effective. 3 times less effective. And I'm not so sure that with all our money and our equipment of 28, we are as effective as the Russian Federation on military. And the reason is because we duplicate everything 28 times. Duplicating everywhere. Even on equipment, on strategic goals, on tactical equipment, on intelligence, on medical service, on everything. So that's the reason why, and they were no stupid, our founding fathers in the 50s thought that the first thing to do was to create a European defense community. What is not in contradiction with NATO, on the contrary, because this European defense community should be, in fact, the European pillar of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization in the future. And then we should, so people are now saying, yeah, you have to spend more on military. No? First of all, let's create a European defense community and maybe later on spend more on defense. And not the opposite as we are doing for the moment. The same is for the border management. How can you, it's typical Europe. We start first of all with a policy and afterwards we see that there are problems with our policy. Border management is a good example of it. We start with Schengen. What does it mean, Schengen? That there is a free movement of people, goods, services inside the Union. So there are no borders anymore between our countries. So then it's normal that the external border of the Union become a common task. No? That's obvious. Well, we not. We think that we can have Schengen, but no common border management at the outside border. Now we start with border management, Frontex. You know what the budget is of Frontex, of the European Border and Coast Guard? 250 million euro. You know what Homeland Security has as budget in America? $62 billion. So how can, and there is the problem with Europe. People see that, Europe gonna manage the outside borders of the Union because there is a migration flow, there are refugees and so on. Nonsense! They have not even the people and the money to do it. So people are then saying, yeah, but this European Union, what is this for an organization? They don't do not the most necessary task, border management. That is the problem. We always start with fantastic ideas and goals and policies, and we don't give the instruments to do it. A typical example is also the euro will not enter into that, and then everybody is saying, yeah, but that costs the European Union 1%. You know, you are in average, the Europeans, so the light of Europe comes in. The stars are for this evening, not now. We start with the basis and then the stars is for But the same is on it going. The same is on the budget. The budget of the European Union, ladies and gentlemen, is a staggering 1% of the European GDP. 1%. That's 40 times less than what you citizens are paying to all the public authorities together. And the average fiscal pressure in Europe is 40, what you pay to your nation state, to your local community, and to Europe. Well, that's more or less 40%. Well, 1% of this 40 goes to Europe. America, the budget of America is 23%. The budget of a state like Switzerland, that is a confederal state, confederal, not a federal state, is 15%. That's the problem. The problem is that we think and we give to the Union enormous ambitious tasks and goals, but we don't give them the means, the deeds, the instruments to do it. And that has to change. Otherwise, this Europe will disappear.
Taip, Ramūnai, jeigu trumpai, kadangi aš turėčiau bent jau 2 klausimus iš auditorijos, nes piliečiai turi pasakyti savo nuomonę apie Europos Sąjungą taip pat.
Jo, labai trumpai, kas mane, vieną mintį jau pasakiau, kas man sukėlė abejonių, kalbant apie politinę viziją, tai tas noras peržengti politinę realybę ir, aišku, įvertinant visus tuos trūkumus Europos Sąjungos vis tiek, man atrodo, kad ta realybė turi būti pripažinta ir interesų skirtumai, kurie egzistuoja skirtingose šalyse, jie visgi yra svarbus ir būtent šalių politinės sistemos generuoja žmonių demokratinę valią. Tai aš suprantu, kad labai seniai norima keisti procedūras tam, kad ir žmonės pradėtų daugiau kalbėti ir galvoti apie europinius reikalus, mažiau nacionalinius. Bet vis tiek, ką mes turim, pavyzdžiui, vykstant Europos parlamento rinkimams, visos diskusijos vyksta nacionalinės politikos klausimais, kuriais Europos parlamentas turi labai mažai galių kažką daryti. Aš žinau, kad ponas Verhofstadtas sakys, tai suteikim daugiau galių Europos parlamentui tada, bet ar tai iš tiesų yra legitimus žingsnis, aš turiu tam tikrų abejonių. Bet ką aš dabar norėjau pastebėti, ypač klausydamas apie biudžeto dydį pasisakymą, ir knygoje labai jaučiamas susižavėjimas JAV, greitų reagavimų, pinigų metimų į bankinės sistemos pertvarką, reagavimą į finansų krizę. Na, žinant, kad autorius yra liberalas, man keista skaityti apie susižavėjimą masinių mokesčių mokėtojų lėšų perskirstimų tiek JAV, tiek Japonijos, pavyzdžių, ir ten yra ekonominės stimuliacijos programa jau keletą metų vykdoma. Ir tas pats eurozonos atveju siūloma, irgi senos labai idėjos, fiskalinė sąjunga ir su to susiję dalykai. Tai, kaip man įdomu, suderintai su liberalizmo idėjom, tą didžiulį biudžeto šuolį didinimo linkme, nes irgi man daug abejonių kelia tiek šito subsidiarumo požiūrių, tiek apskritai, kur geriausia mokesčių mokėtojų pinigus gali leisti tie, kas įgyja valdžią, gali juos leisti.
Supratau. Aš tikiuosi, kad Gy galės atsakyti šitos klausimus, kuomet mes turėsime bent porą klausimų. Pirma eilė. Mergina. Prisistatyti, prašau, kas jūs esate ir trumpą klausimą jau galite.
Hello everyone, my name is Teresa. I'm a student of the Economics and Politics program, and my question will be addressed to Mr. Gy, and it will be on transnational lists. So even though we lost an opportunity in the European Parliament recently, but do you believe that transnational lists still stand a chance for the maybe next European Parliament elections in 2034? Thank you.
Well, yeah, that's the hope, that the idea is not that, and that we come back to this in 2024, because the idea was that besides, that people should have 2 votes. One vote for the national representative in the European Parliament, and then a second vote to elect European candidates that should be presented by the political parties. And, well, it didn't, was a majority for it in this Parliament, but I'm pretty sure that there will be a majority for it in the next parliament in 2024, also because the next parliament will be quite a different parliament. We will be with 27, not with 28, and I see then a majority possible. And I think it's also necessary to create a European demos, a European discussion, that there are people representing the European political movements during the elections. And some have said, yeah, is the European Parliament democratic? Sorry, in my constituency, I'm elected with between 500 and 600,000 votes in my constituency. So it's difficult to say that, oh, okay, I have no legitimacy, democratic legitimacy. The democratic legitimacy of somebody who is elected on the European level is exactly the same as the legitimacy of somebody who is elected on the national level. He needs a number of votes to be elected. And to be elected on the European level, you need more or less 10 times more votes in average in Europe than what you need on the national level. And there is also no contradiction that you have national democracy at the one hand, and then for the competence that we give to Europe, a European legitimacy with European elections. By the way, I think also that we should do that also on the financing of the Union. Today, the financing of the Union is in fact a system of subsidies by member states to the Union. And there is no control. The only control is done by the governments of the member states. There is no direct link between you and the European Union. What is a bad thing? It's far better that we have another financing system in which, because your money to Europe goes first of all to the nation state, and the nation states take it and then they decide for you what they're going to do in Europe. I like more that you can decide directly in Europe what is happening with your money. And that we have not longer these discussions who resemble more to buying a carpet in a Turkish bazaar. Because that's the way we do the budget for the moment in the European Union. It's a struggle between member states to pay money to Europe, but to get even more back from Europe. So 80% of what they are paying to Europe goes back immediately to the same member states. So that there is not enough money left for the real European added value policies we need. For example, border management was one example, innovation, single market in energy, in digital, in capital, things that we are lacking for the moment brutally.
Hello, my name is Selot, I'm a refugee from Russia, and I have one question. What liberals can suggest to fight international corruption and mafia in Europe?
Yeah. So that has to be a special policy of the Union, and certainly not only the corruption inside, but the corruption coming from outside other countries towards the European Union, and many of our countries are used, in fact, for such corruption. So there we need common action on this, and not to have fear to take measures, sanctions, where they absolutely are needed. And we have, by the way, to tackle especially, besides naturally the corruption inside the Union, those elites from outside the European Union, for example Russian elites, who use in fact the European Union and their wealth in Europe for that corruption. And that means individual measures, sanctions, needs to continue, and we need not to be afraid of it. And that can go in parallel with other policies, but I'm absolutely from the opinion that more courage and more unity from the side of the Union is needed on this.
Aš labai atsiprašau, žinokite, dėja mūsų laikas yra labai ribotas. Aš tik pabaigai norėčiau paprašyti apginti liberalus nuo didesnių mokesčių, kad mes esame už didesnius mokesčius ir smarkesnį finansinių srautų perskirstimą, nes profesorius bandė išprovokuoti, reiškia, šią diskusiją politinėme lygmenyje. Paskutiniam pasisakymė, ar galėtum apginti liberalų tvirtovę?
Well, I think that a good functioning European Union goes together with a low level of taxation for citizens, because I give you this example of defense expenditure. What should a normal a collectivist saying when he has not enough money and he sees this result? He says, I'm going to raise the budget of the military and I'm going to ask for more taxes of the citizens. Why a liberal will say, no, that's not necessary. I don't want to raise the budget of the military. I don't want to raise the taxation on the citizens. I want to use this cooperation unity on the European level to have better results with the same amount of money. That's for me a typical liberal measure to protect. Secondly, when I'm talking about the possibility to have a direct finance of the European Union, of the budget, that is not to add to the taxation of the citizens. What I want is that instead that people pay to their nation state pay to Europe, that it goes directly to Europe, so that the tax burden on the national level can be lowered. So it's not €1 additional tax money, taxpayers' money that we need, it's to replace the system within the actual tax burden that exists. And then three, the best what I think we can do is to open our markets, our single market further. We have a single market for what? For champagne, for cars, you name it, but that's only 35% of the goods and the services in Europe. On digital, on telecom, on capitals, on energy, I should say on all the products of the future, there is no single market for the moment. And that's also a very, I think, one of the key points for liberal policies, to establish that as fast as possible. Otherwise we will always be behind the Americans and tomorrow behind the Chinese, the Indians and the others.
Aš noriu padėkoti dar kartą visiems, kurie susirinko čia. Aš tikrai norėčiau jūs paskatinti įsigyti šitą knygą arba kartu įsigyti ir pasiskaityti. Daugybė gerų įdomių faktų, kuriuos tikrai nerasite einamoji spaudoj, žiniasklaidoj, o tai yra labai naudinga apsisprendžiant dėl ES ateities, kuri mums visiems rūpi vienodai. Leiskite visų vardu padėkoti Verhofstadtui už jo knygą ir palinkėti jam tolimesnių pergalių kovojant prieš Europos drakonus. Ir didelis ačiū Ramūnui Vilpišauskui. Ačiū Ramūnai.
Taip pat dėkoju diskusijos dalyviams, dėkoju autoriui, dėkoju auditorijai. Ir noriu priminti, kad autorius dar keletą minučių bus leidyklos Tyto alba stende, kur jūs galėsite turėti progą gauti autoriaus autografą.